Rachna and Wellness. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of different varieties of salts. Of course, a question that a lot of people have all the time is the kind of salt that they should be using for either cooking or different purposes. So I have a bunch of different salts. Of course, the basic one is the table salt. And I'll talk about all the different varieties as I go through. So of course, the very first one that a lot of people still use, which I would never get it, and the only reason I actually bought it is for the video. I would never use the regular table salt. It's devoid of all the mineral content, but let me give you some basic information where the salt comes from. Of course, mostly all the salt does come from seawater. What they do is they evaporate all the water, and of course the evaporation process, and they heat it to pretty high temperatures to get what is called regular table salt. So this is just a regular table salt. Okay, all it is saying is just salt. So typically any salt, it's coming from all the mountains and all the rocks and everything, formation of years and years and years, and it's supposed to have about 84 different minerals, trace minerals. And the reason I call it trace minerals, because these are minerals that are actually required in very minimal quantities for the body, but it's so minimal that even if you don't have a little, your body you'll start seeing symptoms. So that means, let's say if you have lower in magnesium content in your body, or you don't have enough phosphorus, if you don't have enough iodine and all that kind of stuff, and those are called trace minerals. They are supposed to be in minimal quantities in the body. So that's regular table salt. So pretty much it's been heated to such a high temperature, it's been processed so much, and it's only left all the 84 minerals except sodium and chloride are left. So a regular table salt, all it has is sodium chloride, and that's where the formula of a table salt comes from, is sodium and chloride, NaCl. Okay, and this is what increases blood pressure. That's a confusion that a lot of people have, that if I have high blood pressure, I shouldn't be taking salt. Yes, you shouldn't be taking table salt, but the other salts, I'll talk to you in just a second, are in fact good for getting your blood pressure lower. So if you have high blood pressure, sea salt is beneficial for you. What is bad is regular table salt, because what happens when there's extra sodium in the body, it creates water retention. Water retention puts a lot more pressure on the arteries and the veins, and of course the pressure of the blood increases because there's more volume of the blood available, and that's what of course causes blood pressure. So that's table salt, definitely a no-no. Okay, and then of course the next version is table salt, but what they do is they add iodine back. So this is called an iodized salt. So it's just this salt, equally processed, but they add back a little bit of iodine. And the reason they do that, they figured out many years ago that especially in some countries the soil doesn't have enough iodine in it, and that means of course iodine deficiency creates thyroid disorders. It also creates some kind of brain function problems in especially kids, and that's the reason that they figured out we need some iodine in our food, and the only way that we get iodine is pretty much from salt. So what they do is, this is table salt, they add some iodine back, and then we get iodized table salt. Okay, again, a bad option. Of course, you're getting iodine, but it's still devoid of all the minerals. So I probably won't use it for my cooking purposes or regular purposes. And of course, the next one is kosher salt. Better. I'm still not comparing it with Mediterranean salt or sea salt, or Himalayan salt, but this is called kosher salt. It's a very interesting story. A lot of people think kosher salt means it's kosher. The reason it's called kosher salt, because it's used to cure meats that are supposed to be kosher. So let's say you want to marinate a piece of chicken, or you want to marinate a piece of fish or something. Especially people who follow kosher diets, that means they're not supposed to have any kind of blood remaining in the meat itself. So what they do, they make it kosher by taking all the blood out. Now the texture or the grain of kosher salt is kind of like a grain. So it has like a prism. It has all 5 or 6 different sides. This is very refined, but this is, like I said, it's lesser refined. So that size, or the particle size of the grain, or the shape of the particle of the grain, when you rub it on any kind of piece of chicken or any marinade for that reason, what it does, just that texture of the grain itself absorbs water or blood out of the piece of meat. So that means it makes a meat kosher, because of course, like I said, kosher shouldn't supposed to have any blood or remaining in it. So that means it's going to extract a lot of water and blood out. So that's the reason they use it for that purposes. Again, to mention, there's nothing kosher about the salt. It's just used to make meats kosher, and that's the reason it's called kosher salt, because of the grain. Again, better than any of the other salts, but still not pretty much high in a lot of the mineral contents. Okay, moving next is what I have is one of the best options that I would definitely consider is called the Himalayan salt, pink Himalayan salt. It comes from actually specific areas in Pakistan, and there's special mines that actually in Pakistan that actually create pink Himalayan salt. It's supposed to be many thousands of years ago, and of course the sea used to have the salt in it, and of course the mountain formation happened, and then it started to crystallize on the outside of the mountain. So they have special people in mines, towards the Himalayas of the Pakistan side, and that's where the salt comes from. It is pretty much all the minerals that the human body is made of. This salt has all the minerals retained in it. So it still has, it's not devoid. In fact, this salt is amazing, has amazing benefits to, in fact, decrease your blood pressure. So if you have blood pressure issues, try taking the salt. Supposedly it will definitely get about 20 to 30 points lower if you start substituting any table salt with pink Himalayan salt. Amazing. Like I said, it has very good source of magnesium, a lot of trace mineral vitamins that your body needs and minerals that your body needs. So that's definitely Himalayan salt. Okay, and again, that's sea salt. As the name says, again, sea salt. All the salts are pretty much sea salts, heavily processed. This is not pretty much processed or very minimally processed. So that means it still has 84 of the trace minerals that any of the salts are supposed to have. So this still has all the minerals still in it. So that's sea salt. And again, sea salt comes in different varieties. So that's a regular natural sea salt. And then I have sea salt flakes. Again, the difference is the texture. Some master cooks and chefs like to use this flake just because it has lower density. That means it kind of, blends well with any cooking purposes that you could be using. This has higher density than regular table salt, so sometimes it doesn't mix well. Of course, I shouldn't be using it, or you wouldn't be using it, shouldn't be using it, but this definitely has lower density, so it in fact kind of blends well in any of the cooking recipes that we could be using. Okay, and then of course I have Mediterranean sea salt. Mediterranean sea salt, again, if you see, I have different varieties of sea salt. It just typically depends what part of the sea or what part of the world it's coming from. There's Mediterranean sea salt, and I've seen all different countries, based on sea salt, where the salt is originally coming from, or what part of the sea or what part of the world that it actually came from. So that's again Mediterranean sea salt. Again, amazing benefits also. So again, all the sea salts and the pink Himalayan salt, like I mentioned, are good source of a lot of the trace minerals that your salt, that your body requires. So they're very good options. Okay, and the last one I wanted to talk about is Celtic Sea Salt. Okay, Celtic Sea Salt is very pure. It has pretty much not been processed. It's never been, if that's what I showed, that's what it looks like. And if you see, this is, it clumps together. Because the moisture of the salt was never removed because of the process it was used to make the salt. So what they do, they actually use a lot of wooden barrels and clay pots to make the salt. This salt has never touched any piece of metal. So it's pretty much never been oxidized. So it's a very healthy salt, and that's the reason if you look at the salt, it's kind of like a light grayish color, and the gray color is coming from the clay pots that it was used to process and evaporate the water. So that's where the gray color comes from. Again, this Celtic salt, very amazing. Good source of magnesium, a lot of minerals that your body should be supposed to having. So you can get it from Celtic Sea Salt. And again, you can also take like shower and bath in it. In fact, it gives you good source of magnesium. If you want to soak yourself in a tub of water and then put some Celtic Sea Salt, you get magnesium back to the body. Very good benefit to the body. Okay, so again, quick recap: table salt, even iodized salt. Not a good option. I know, of course, we need some iodine. If you could probably just add, extra little bit, there are iodine drops that you can actually buy them as opposed to getting from the table salt. That's kosher salt. I explained you what kosher salt is. Why is it called kosher? Then we talked about the pink Himalayan salt. Then we talked about different kind of sea salt, and talked about Celtic salt. So that was a small segment I wanted to share with you about all the different salts, and especially what you should be using. Again, for cooking, I would only use either Celtic salt, Mediterranean sea salt. Wanted to mention these salts are always lesser in sodium a little bit. So you might have to add a little bit more. Just because they're lesser in sodium. This is always higher in sodium because it's pure sodium chloride. This has a lot of other minerals to it, so the sodium content is a little bit lesser, so you just might have to add a little bit more. So again, thanks for tuning in and watching this segment for Rachna's Wellness, and if you liked my segment today, give us a thumbs up and also subscribe to Rachna's Wellness. You can watch the other remaining shows coming soon.